Vast forest shrouded in dense fog is no place for an orphan, yet this young Triceratops presses on, determined to find her way and grow. Being barely a juvenile, her small size works to her advantage, allowing her to conceal herself in the foliage and avoid unwanted attention. Meet Ellie, the Eotriceratops. With no parents and no herd, she must find her way around Gondor on her own. I spawned in the birchwoods and just continued trying to quest. I found nobody throughout this entire area. I just continued questing, trying my best to grow. Very aware that I was probably being watched or could have been getting watched, and throughout my entire time, tried to stay as low profile as possible. Moving into the Green Hills, I was finally happy to be out of the forest, though was painfully aware that I was now out in the open. While I was doing my quests, I saw some very big critters that I didn't want to fight, so I stayed up as high as possible to avoid them. My next challenge was trying to get across this river without getting eaten, and since I didn't see anyone, I thought I could be safe, but I wasn't too sure. After what felt like forever crossing the river, I finally made it across unscathed. Though my good luck wouldn't run very long. I didn't see anyone for a while up until now, where, as I was walking along, I saw a nest of velociraptors and immediately felt very, very intimidated. So I hid in a bush in hopes that I could just go unseen. Then, of course, just up ahead, I see a Hatzicopteryx trying to eat a Kalenkin. Not a fight that I particularly wanted to get involved in, to be honest. Once they were gone, I made a break for it, and just as I thought that I would be safe, I get jump scared by a dasp. I finally made it into Green Valley, and there wasn't as many herbivores as I was used to, so I was a little bit nervous at first. I wanted to complete my quests, but I didn't know what was lurking in the water and didn't want to go near the lakeweed. Looking around, there was less predators than what I was used to, but still more in comparison to herbivores, and I was still only a baby, so I did not feel safe and didn't feel like I had anyone that could protect me. I settled to eat some berries when this Kentro popped up and gave me some sort of display. It looked playful, but I wasn't entirely sure, so I just responded neutrally and got back to eating my berries. I was a little bit concerned by this Kentro, but as it turns out, he wasn't the one that I needed to worry about. And I should have paid more attention to my surroundings. As I turned to leave, I started to get backed up by a dasp, the same one that I saw earlier. I thought if I backed away slowly and showed that I wasn't interested in combat, then he would leave me alone. But of course he didn't let up, and now I was entering my first fight. He started backing away. Clearly I had hurt him, and so I threatened him to make sure he didn't come back.
Huh?
A very confused Saurophaganax came along, and now I started to worry about the both of them. Though I stood my ground, I wasn't about to get myself killed. Now he was angry. Though I was still an adolescent, this dastard learned that trying to attack me would be a big, big mistake. One final blow and he was down. Of course, I didn't need the meat, so the Saurophaganax politely asked if he could have it, and of course I gave it to him. Covered in wounds, and now surrounded by more predators, I made my way over to the Kentro. I needed as much company as I could get. Still trying to grow, I needed to do more quests, and I had a lakeweed quest that I needed to do. But I did just see a Sarco go into the water, so I was a little bit weary about it. However, my Kentro friends seemed to not be too intimidated, so they went along, while I stayed back and sharpened my horns just in case. As it turns out, I had every reason to be nervous. My friend was snatched up and taken into the water, and selfishly I used this time to collect the lakeweed. The Kentro did fight back, which is something I wasn't expecting, but they met their end, unfortunately, and I was alone once again. After taking a short rest, I noticed that an Apatosaurus joined in, and happy to see another herbivore, especially a large one, I decided to go and join them. I was a little bit hungry, and I saw that they were eating from a berry bush, and wanting to be friendly, I shared the snack with them, only for them to then hit me. But I figured it was probably an accident, so I just continued to eat the berries. And then they hit me again. This was clearly on purpose, and now I was being attacked by a bunch of raptors. In the server, it's against the rules to third party, and considering I was just getting attacked by an Apatosaurus, this, I guess, would be considered a third party? I tried fighting the raptors off, but they were so tiny and just so all over the place that it just was not working. I was already stressed enough having been beaten up by another herbivore that I just couldn't really concentrate on what I was doing. I made the raptors aware that I was in the middle, sort of a combat and that they were kind of third-partying, and then thankfully they stopped. I then turned my attention to the Apatosaurus and asked them what the hell their problem was. Turns out they had claimed the bush, and while I think that is incredibly stupid, it's a thing that you can do in the server that I didn't realize. Claiming bodies I understand because you work for it, but I don't really get the whole claiming a bush thing. But a rule's a rule, and I had accidentally broken one. So I decided to leave and find my own bush since I knew when I wasn't wanted. As I walked along bruised and bloody, I came across two bars. Given my last interaction with an herbivore, I was quite worried that they might be a threat to me, though what I was mainly reminded of was how lonely I was. Everyone seemed to have somebody, and yet here I was, alone this entire time. And as if I hadn't been graced with enough fight or flight for one day, I would have the scare of my life.
Oh, hell no.
Another jump scare, but this time from a Tyrannosaurus Rex. However, he didn't seem to want to fight. He actually seemed quite put off by me, and when I decided to just take a drink, he left. Maybe he was threatened by me, maybe he just wasn't hungry enough to deal with me, or maybe I had just met the world's first pacifist Tyrannosaur. Either way, I was happy to have survived the encounter. I filled up my thirst, and as per usual, I left alone, not knowing where I was going or what I was going to do. Remember how I said that I understand claiming bodies because you actually work for it, however, claiming bushes is really stupid? Well, I take that back, because trying to find this berry bush was incredibly difficult and it took me way too long. Having finally filled up on my hunger, I started off again, not having any plan whatsoever. I just wanted to try and find somewhere that I could call somewhat of a home. I had no sense of direction, no herd, no friends. I did not know what I was going to do next. After wandering around for a little while, I found myself back at Green Valley yet again, only this time I was on the opposite side. I figured since I kept coming back here, maybe this was where I was supposed to be. There was water, there was berries, somewhat, and I had a higher chance of possibly meeting a herd, though I was still skeptical of all those around me. I decided that this time I was going to stay, but I was going to keep my distance. Finally reaching sub-adult, I started to build a nest. I was looking for a nice place to do it, again, away from other people, but where there was enough nearby resources. I found myself a little perch overseeing everything and figured here would be safe. Maybe I could start my own herd, then I wouldn't be alone. Though being alone was starting to become more of a comforting thought. I wouldn't lose anyone, I wouldn't be in danger of being stabbed in the back. I only had myself to look after, and myself to trust.